I would like to start here with Dr. Feldman. Welcome.
Thanks, Dawn. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for sharing your evening with us. What causes bunions? A big part of it is genetic. On the screen that you're looking at now, I am keeping it close to the family. This is my daughter. On the left, it was when she was 11. And on the right, it's current as a 17-year-old. And Dawn, point to the growth plates on the left-hand side. So this is a growing foot. And in my daughter's case, you can see this long, big toe that's sticking kind of straight out in line with the metatarsal. And it's a nicely shaped foot. And if this little foot is allowed to grow without any interference from shoes or anything else in life, it should continue to grow straight. And now 6 years later, this picture on the right, you can see the growth plates are now closed. And the foot, for the most part, is just a bigger version of the one on the left. If we advance it one screen, now on the left is my daughter's foot, and on the right is my wife's foot, many, many years later. Now, genetics are such that oftentimes the children inherit the feet of their parents, one or the other, or sometimes a combination. In my own children, my son, unfortunately, kind of has no chance because he is either going to have my feet or my wife's feet. So he's got my feet with my wife's sort of flimsy toenails. But my daughter is completely my wife's foot. And my daughter had bunions at the age of 9. And you can see a screw and a pin, the picture on the right, because she did have bunion surgery about 25 years ago or so. But she had a very large bunion at the age of 9 because when her foot was little, she was put in a traditional shoe, something like you'll see in the middle, where the toe box tapers. It comes to a point. And when you take a little foot and you let that little foot grow into a big foot in the confines of a shoe, the shoe is going to completely distort the growth. And you're going to end up with a bunion at a very early age. Right when there's imbalance at the big toe joint, and it's the imbalances with a foot that's still growing, the imbalance can only get greater. On the left-hand side, Don, circle the sesamoids. So the key with my daughter's foot is those two little circles underneath the metatarsal are perfectly centered under the metatarsal. And that's really the key, because if we can keep those bones centered under the metatarsal, the foot should develop normally. On the picture on the right, after surgery, you can see those two bones are to the right of the metatarsal. The goal of the original surgery was to move the part of the joint where Don's circling over the sesamoids, and it worked for a couple of years. You're going to see some surgeries later in the presentation where we try to get the metatarsal over those sesamoids to rebalance the joint. And I want you to think of bunions not so much as something that is a bump of bone. It's really an imbalance of a joint. If it was your knee, it would almost be like your leg's coming down straight and then the lower leg is coming off at a right angle or a 45-degree angle. If you were to walk like that, you'd have a big lump on the inside part of the knee. Because of the imbalance. A bunion is nothing but a joint imbalance. And again, when it starts young, it can only get worse. So the key is to not let it develop. That's the best way to treat them. Most of the people on this screen, actually everybody on this webinar is a little bit older. Their feet are fully grown and you already have bunions. So it's almost a moot point at this point to talk about the causes of bunions. If we could build a time machine and go back in time, or if you can go to grandchildren at this point and prevent your own kids from making the same mistakes that our parents made, then we have some chance to avoid it. But the bunion causes are really genetic. This is another picture that shows the fact that we really should allow the shoe to fit the shape of our foot, and not the other way around. We don't want to make our feet kind of conform to the shape of the foot. We'll get used to it, but it's not the way it should be. This is another person who you can see growth-related deformities. This is one person. This is her right foot. She's now 16. So on the far left, she was about 13 years old. You can still see the growth plates. We have an angle of 12 degrees between the first metatarsal, which is the big one on the left, Don, you want to just line up the first metatarsal and the second metatarsal. The bigger that angulation, the greater the bunion's going to be, because the big toe needs to stay in line with the first metatarsal. So Don, just to highlight the, I don't know if, actually I can do this. So can you see me or no? Do I have access, Don, or no?
Yeah, you can, I think, yeah, you can move it, I think.
Can you see my my mouse pointer or no?
No, I
All
don't
right.
think so.
Here, Don, just move the mouse up and down the big toe.
On the big toe right
On the
here?
left image.
Yep.
So we want that big toe to be in line with the metatarsal, but you can see at 13 years old, it's already deviated. So she's already got a joint imbalance, and that sesamoid bone is already peaking in between the metatarsals. We go several years later, and that angle went from 12 degrees to 13.5 degrees, and the foot is more fully developed. The growth plate is closed, so now it's time we can operate. And on the far right, you can see a surgery where we cut a wedge in the bone and reposition the metatarsal directly over the sesamoids, and now her toe is very much in line with the metatarsal. So you have the influence of shoes, and you have genetics, and that's essentially what causes bunions. And so, you know, thank mom and dad, and they can thank their parents, and so on and so forth.
Good job, Dr. Feldman.